Chapter 2, Part 7. How the Wise Live. 2. Oceanic Stillness. 264.2.72. Scene. The battlefield still trembles with tension, but Arjuna is no longer the only one listening. Through Sanjaya's narration, even Dhritarashtra, sitting far away in his palace, hears these words of wisdom. The conversation between Krishna and Arjuna has now matured. The initial scolding is over, the harsh truths have been spoken, and the foundation of Sankhya philosophy has been laid. Now Krishna begins to reveal the fragrance of wisdom, the lifestyle of the Stithaprajña. Arjuna, exhausted by despair, looks on as Krishna describes the one who lives amidst the world, yet remains untouched, who moves like an ocean, receiving countless rivers, yet never overflowing, never drying up. The silence between their words is as powerful as the words themselves. This is not just a lecture on control, it is an unveiling of freedom. Then, for the warriors gathered on Kurukshetra, this teaching was radical. Kings, heroes, and elders lived by conquest, victory, honor, and revenge. Yet here was Krishna saying, the greatest conquest is not of lands or enemies, but of one's own senses and mind. Picture Bhishma on his bed of arrows, unshaken by pain. Picture Vidura in Dhritarashtra's court, untouched by greed. Picture sages like Vyasa, who wrote of empires but lived beyond their pull. The battlefield was surrounded by noise, yet Krishna spoke of a stillness more powerful than weapons. Now, fast forward to our lives today. The rivers rushing into our inner ocean are endless. News updates, social media posts, financial worries, family expectations, health anxieties, dreams unfulfilled. Each one crashes into us like a torrent. Do we overflow with restlessness, or can we remain deep, steady, and calm like the ocean? The wise do not run away from life. They live in its midst, but live differently. They engage without attachment, enjoy without clinging, act without obsession. They taste life fully, yet remain unbound. Imagine being in a boardroom with criticism flying at you, or at home with family conflicts erupting, or alone facing a health scare, yet within, you remain undisturbed. That stillness is not weakness, it is power. Focus. The focus here is breathtakingly clear. Stillness is power. Not the stillness of escape, but the stillness of one who is unshaken in the storm. The real win in life is not to have more, but to be free enough that having or not having does not shake you. True abundance is not measured in possessions, but in the calm you carry within. Krishna's invitation is this: step into life like the ocean. Let rivers come and go. Let circumstances change. Let desires rise and fall. You remain full, steady, immeasurable. That is freedom. That is peace. That is mastery. As we move into these verses, ask yourself, what are the rivers that flow into your life daily? Do they leave you restless or still? Comment below, because naming them is the first step to transcending them. And if this vision of the wise inspires you, support this journey. Like, share, and subscribe. Together, we are building a community of seekers who choose clarity over chaos. 264. The inner anchor, moving amidst temptations. Scene. Krishna's voice grows steady as he paints a contrast. He speaks of the person who moves in the world of sense objects, not hiding, not renouncing the world physically, but remaining untouched because his mind is governed, his senses are disciplined, and his heart is anchored in detachment. Arjuna listens intently, for this is not abstract philosophy anymore, this is practical. How can a warrior, standing in the middle of chaos, still be centered? Krishna offers the first key, self-mastery amidst allure. Then, imagine Arjuna's position. Before him stand warriors adorned in gold, elephants in armor, and banners shining in the sun. All around, the lure of victory and the fear of loss fight for his attention. In that moment, Krishna reminds him that the true warrior is not one who defeats others, but one who defeats his own impulses. The kings of old often fell not by the sword of the enemy, but by their own greed, anger, and attachment. Duryodhana, intoxicated by envy, was already defeated before the war began. Bhishma, though the mightiest, was chained by his vow to Hastinapura. Karna, the generous, was bound by loyalty that blinded his judgment. Each was mastered by something within. Krishna now urges Arjuna to choose differently, to remain in the world, but not of it, to engage fully without becoming enslaved. The battlefield itself was a metaphor. Life will tempt, provoke, and challenge, but the one who stands steady amidst it becomes unshakable. Now, shift this teaching into our age. Every day, we swim in a sea of attractions and distractions, notifications that steal our time, advertisements that provoke endless desire, gossip that drags us down, and opportunities that lure us into restlessness. How often do we feel pulled in 10 directions at once, unable to anchor ourselves? Krishna's wisdom cuts through. Don't run away from the world, don't deny its existence, but don't let it hijack your peace either. The yogi of today is not someone in a cave. It is the person who scrolls through social media, yet remains free from envy, who works hard, yet is not enslaved by ambition, who loves deeply, yet without clinging. The real challenge is not escaping temptations, but walking among them with grace. If Arjuna could be called to balance in the middle of a battlefield, can't we try in our workplaces, homes, and digital worlds? Focus. The focus of this verse is profound: to remain free in the midst of bonds. Detachment does not mean indifference, it means clarity. When the senses are guided by wisdom, not impulse, we taste life more fully, not less. Ask yourself, are you controlling your choices, or are your impulses controlling you? The path of freedom is not about denying joy, but about ensuring that joy does not turn into slavery. Just as an anchor keeps a ship steady despite waves, your inner discipline can keep you steady amidst life's storms. If this strikes a chord, pause here and reflect. What is one temptation or distraction that often sweeps you away? Comment below with honesty. Your sharing may help another seeker recognize their own struggle. Remember, stillness is not born of escape, but of mastery. Like the ocean, receive all rivers, praise and blame, gain and loss, joy and sorrow, and yet remain full. That is the inner anchor Krishna is offering Arjuna, and through him, all of us. 265. Peace heals, clarity restored. Scene. Krishna looks at Arjuna, whose eyes are still clouded with sorrow, and speaks softly but firmly. When a person attains peace of mind, all sorrows vanish, and the intellect becomes steady. This is not a promise for another world. It is a practical formula for life here and now. Arjuna is being told that before the arrows fly, he must heal his inner restlessness. Then, on Kurukshetra, sorrow is not unique to Arjuna. Gandhari mourns before her sons are even slain. Karna hides his despair behind a mask of generosity, and Bhishma feels the ache of standing against his own grandsons. Yet all are caught in grief without release. Arjuna, however, is being given a key that others never received. Peace within dissolves sorrow without. Imagine Barbrik, the grandson of Bhima, watching from afar. He would later recall how every great warrior was consumed by inner storms more than by outer enemies. Arjuna is different. He has Krishna beside him, reminding him that calmness is not weakness but strength, not delay but clarity. When the mind is stilled, the intellect can make decisions not from panic but from wisdom. Now, how often do we make poor choices when stressed? A hurried email we regret, an angry word that breaks a bond, a rushed decision that costs us peace. Our modern Kurukshetra is not lined with chariots, but with deadlines, arguments, and constant notifications. Anxiety clouds judgment, while peace clears the fog. Science even confirms this. Stress hormones reduce clarity, while calmness activates higher reasoning. Krishna's wisdom is timeless. First find your peace, and then act. Today, when the world glorifies busyness, choosing inner calm is revolutionary. It is not laziness, it is preparation. The peaceful mind heals the restless heart and guides us toward decisions that last. Focus. The focus here is transformation. Peace is not the result of success, it is the cause of it. Ask yourself, do you chase calm after the storm, or do you carry calm into the storm? If you master the second, you will never be enslaved by circumstances again. Share in the comments, what's your ritual for finding calm? Prayer, meditation, walking, music. Your path may inspire someone else. Remember, sorrow loses grip only when peace enters. 2.66. Without anchor, drifting in darkness. Scene. Krishna now sharpens the warning. Without discipline, there is no wisdom. Without wisdom, no contemplation. Without contemplation, no peace. And without peace, no happiness. He is showing Arjuna the chain reaction of a restless life. Then, on the battlefield, think of Duryodhana. No discipline in desire led to no wisdom. His mind, always agitated by envy, left no room for true contemplation. Without contemplation, peace was impossible, and without peace, happiness always eluded him. Contrast this with sages like Vyasa, who could see past, present, and future because their minds were steady. The difference between downfall and freedom lies in discipline. Even mighty Bhishma, despite wisdom, was bound by his vow because he lacked the inner courage to break it when Dharma demanded. Arjuna is shown the truth. Self-mastery is not an accessory, it is survival. Now, isn't this exactly what we see today? Restless scrolling, endless chasing, reactive living. Without discipline of mind and senses, we cannot focus. Without focus, deep insight never arises. And without insight, life is a chain of restlessness without peace or happiness. Modern life sells hacks for productivity, but Krishna gave the original formula: discipline, wisdom, contemplation, peace, happiness. Miss the first, and the chain collapses. Focus. The lesson is sobering. Happiness is impossible without discipline. True freedom is not doing whatever you want. It's not being enslaved by what you want. Reflect. Are you ruling your desires, or are they ruling you? The comment section could become a small confession ground. Name one habit that weakens your discipline. Remember, recognition is the first step to mastery. Point 67. The storm-tossed mind, ship without rudder. Scene. Krishna intensifies the image. As a ship without a rudder is swept away by the wind, so the mind that yields to the wandering senses is carried away. Arjuna, a warrior who knows the sea of arrows, instantly grasps the metaphor of storms and steering. Then, imagine a ship on the ocean, rudder broken, winds howling. It has no choice but to drift wherever the storm takes it. This was Duryodhana, carried by envy. This was Karna, swept away by loyalty, despite knowing the truth. This was even Bhishma, tossed by his vow. The battlefield was not only of arrows, but of unanchored minds. Barbaric, unseen but watchful, would later remark, "It was not weapons that defeated them, it was their inability to control their minds." Arjuna is being warned. If you let your senses rule you, you will be defeated before the first arrow leaves your bow. Now, look around today. The winds are not arrows, but notifications, temptations, desires, trends. If your inner rudder, discipline, is broken, life will sweep you wherever the storm of distraction blows. Addiction to screens, food, gossip, or even opinions is nothing but a rudderless drift. How often do you feel pulled by everything except your own choice? Krishna's wisdom here is modern psychology. Anchor your mind, or it will be hijacked by the world. Focus. The focus is vivid. Without mastery of senses, life is not lived, it is drifted. Ask yourself honestly, are you steering your life, or is your life steering you? The choice is clear. Either you hold the rudder, or the storm does. Share in the comments. What is the wind that most often carries you away? Acknowledging it is the first step to reclaiming your rudder. 268. The gateway of mastery, guarding the senses. Scene. Krishna offers the antidote. Therefore, O mighty armed, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is firmly established in wisdom. The battlefield's greatest secret is revealed, not the sharpness of arrows, but the mastery of senses. Then, think of Draupadi, stripped of everything, humiliated in the Kaurava court, yet she did not yield her dignity. Her senses, though provoked, did not drive her into chaos. Instead, she anchored herself in calling Krishna. Contrast her steadiness with Duryodhana's arrogance and Karna's pride. The difference lay not in circumstance, but in self-mastery. Arjuna is told, "Your true victory begins not when your arrows fly, but when your senses bow to your wisdom." Now, in our world, wisdom is not found by collecting more data, but by filtering distractions. Guarding what you see, hear, and consume is the first step to peace. Every advertisement, every argument, every toxic habit is a doorway through which energy escapes. To guard the senses is to guard destiny. Krishna is not calling for denial, but for direction. Use the senses, but let them serve wisdom, not enslave it. Focus. The takeaway is empowering. Guard your gateways, and you guard your life. Just as a fortress is safe only when its gates are protected, your life is steady only when your senses are disciplined. Reflect. What do you allow through your gates each day? Junk news, toxic company, or elevating ideas? Share in the comments. One change you will make to guard your senses starting today. Remember, mastery of life begins not outside but at your own doorways. 269. The Night of the World, Awakening of the Wise. Scene. Krishna paints a paradox. What is night for all beings, the self-controlled one keeps awake, and where others are awake, that is night for the sage. Arjuna hears not just philosophy, but a riddle, one that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Then, imagine the battlefield, millions awake, eyes fixed on victory, wealth, fame, revenge. For them, this is daylight, the brightest pursuit. Yet for the wise, this is night, an illusion that blinds. On the other hand, when the sage contemplates the self, others scoff, as if he is lost in darkness. Barbrick, watching silently, would later marvel. The world celebrated its victories and riches, but those treasures decayed. The quiet sages, however, drank nectar unnoticed. Arjuna is told that true sight often looks like blindness to the world. The Kauravas chase shadows thinking them substance. Krishna invites Arjuna to see the eternal, even if mocked as madness. Now, isn't this exactly our world today? What most call success, chasing status, possessions, endless entertainment, consumes their daylight. But to one who sees clearly, it is all night, fleeting as a dream. Conversely, meditation, self-inquiry, inner growth, these appear like darkness or boredom to the restless world, but to the wise, they are true dawn. Think of social media. Most people awake in its glare, chasing likes, but the wise see it as night, a distraction from truth. Meanwhile, sitting quietly in reflection, mocked as dull, becomes the sage's sunlight. Krishna's paradox lives vividly in us. Where the crowd rushes, the wise withdraw. Where the crowd scoffs, the wise awaken. Focus. The takeaway is sharp. Wisdom means seeing value where others see nothing, and emptiness where others see value. Ask yourself, are you awake with the world or awake with the wise? Comment below. What is one thing that excites the crowd but feels meaningless to you? Naming it is the first step in realigning your compass. Remember, Arjuna's awakening began when he dared to see opposite of the world. 2.70. Ocean without overflow, the secret of contentment. Scene. Krishna continues. As the ocean remains full and undisturbed, though rivers constantly enter it, so is the sage unmoved, though desires flow into him. The metaphor is vast, and Arjuna, standing before a sea of armies, grasps its grandeur. Then, think of the ocean. Waves roar, rivers pour in, storms rage, yet its vastness absorbs all without losing stillness. Contrast this with Duryodhana, whose every desire spilled out as restlessness. Even after ruling, his thirst only grew. Or Karna, generous to all, but secretly yearning for honor denied. They were ponds, not oceans, easily disturbed. Now, recall Bhishma, lying on the bed of arrows. Though pierced, he radiated steadiness, his mind like the ocean that no arrows could dry. Krishna tells Arjuna, desires will come, but do not become their prisoner. Be vast enough to contain them without overflow. Now, today, rivers of desire flood us daily. Advertisements, ambitions, comparisons, cravings. The restless mind is like a cup, overflowing, spilling peace everywhere. But the steady mind is an ocean. It holds all without agitation. This is not suppression, it is expansion. A wise person still feels desires, food, love, creativity, but does not drown in them. Instead of being hijacked by every craving, they remain rooted. Imagine your life. How much anxiety comes not from lack, but from endless chasing? Contentment is not absence of desire, it is the ocean's power to hold them without losing stillness. Focus. The lesson is transformative. Become the ocean, not the river. Don't aim to kill desires, aim to expand beyond them. Share below. What is one recurring desire that easily unsettles you? Can you hold it like the ocean, acknowledge, absorb, but not overflow? That's the path to true peace. 271. Renunciation reframed, freedom in letting go. Scene. Krishna explains further. The person who abandons all cravings, who moves without longing, without possessiveness, without ego, attains peace. For Arjuna, this is not abstract. It's a sword cutting the root of despair. Then, look at the battlefield. So many warriors fight not for dharma, but for craving. Duryodhana for power, Shakuni for revenge, Karna for recognition. Their every arrow springs from longing. Contrast this with sages who possessed nothing but carried unshakable peace. Even Draupadi, when stripped of all, found freedom not in possessions, but in surrender. Arjuna is told, true strength lies not in gathering, but in releasing. The Kauravas clutch, the wise let go. Barbaric would later say, I saw thousands die clutching wealth, but only those empty of ego met death smiling. Now, our modern attachments are not palaces but phones, titles, identities, opinions. We cling fiercely, and in clinging, we suffer. Freedom begins when you release, not abandon responsibility, but drop possessiveness. Think, how much of your stress comes from mine, my career, my status, my possessions? Krishna flips the script. Peace is not gained by adding more, but by loosening the grip. In therapy, in spirituality, in daily life, the secret is the same. Craving breeds restlessness. Release breeds calm. Focus. The truth is bold. Your peace is measured not by what you hold, but by what you can let go. Reflect. What craving most disturbs your peace? Share in the comments if you dare. Remember, renunciation is not about robes or forests. It's about a free heart amidst life. 272. Stillness is victory. The sage beyond time. Scene. Krishna concludes the chapter. This is the divine state, O Partha. Attaining this, one is not deluded. Being established in it even at the moment of death, one attains Brahman. Arjuna now sees the true warrior, not one who wins battles, but one who conquers restlessness forever. Then, the battlefield glitters with weapons, but Krishna points to another victory, the conquest of the self. Every great hero there, Drona, Bhishma, Karna, would eventually fall, but the sage in stillness never falls. Think of Bhishma again, choosing his moment of death, resting in clarity even while pierced. Think of sages like Vyasa, whose peace outlasted empires. Arjuna is told, this state is not for afterlife only, it is attainable here, and once attained, even death is no defeat. The Kauravas fight for survival, the wise fight for timelessness. Now, today, so many chase legacies, fearing death. But Krishna reframes, immortality is not about your name living on. It's about living in such stillness that death itself becomes just another doorway. This is not myth. It is psychology. It is spirituality. It is freedom. People spend billions to delay death, but rarely spend moments to overcome fear. Krishna shows us the shortcut. Live in stillness, and you are already free. Focus. The final focus is liberating. Victory is not defeating others, but being unshaken by time itself. Ask yourself, if death came tonight, could you rest in peace, knowing you lived with stillness? If not, what will you change today to walk toward that state? Comment one practice you'll adopt. Meditation, gratitude, service, to move closer. Remember, Arjuna's war was not just against the Kauravas, it was against time. And stillness was the only real weapon. Closing summary, the sage who cannot be shaken, 2.72.72. Scene. As chapter 2 reaches its final strokes, Krishna paints a portrait, not of the warrior who conquers kingdoms, but of the sage who conquers himself. Sanjaya's narration slows, as though time itself bends, so Dhritarashtra and we, the listeners, may grasp the ultimate gift, what it means to live unshaken. Then, Arjuna asked, how does the Stithaprajña live? How does he speak, sit, walk? This question was more than curiosity. It was desperation. For a warrior crumbling in despair, knowing the path of the unshaken sage was the lifeline. Krishna answered by weaving images. The sage is undisturbed like the ocean, awake when the world sleeps, asleep when the world is awake, free of craving, untouched by the storms of gain or loss, honor or dishonor. The Kauravas' world was a drama of clinging. The Pandavas' hope lay in Dharma. Krishna's vision cut deeper. Beyond both winning and losing lies stillness, the true victory. Barbaric, the silent witness, would later recall, I saw rivers of blood, crowns broken, empires erased. But the one who conquered his mind left a victory that even death could not erase. In these closing verses, Krishna turns the battlefield into a classroom and the war into a metaphor for every soul's inner struggle. Now, in our lives too, we ask Arjuna's question, sometimes silently, how does a wise person live? How can I stay steady when the world spins me around? Krishna's answers land with startling relevance. The Stithaprajña is not defined by what he possesses, but by what no storm can take from him. Think of today's world, where FOMO, endless notifications, competition, and comparison keep us restless. Our victories are measured in followers, paychecks, status symbols. But none of these still the heart. Krishna's wisdom is radical even now. Be like the ocean. Let rivers of desires flow. Let the world chase its daylight of glittering illusions, but remain vast, deep, unshaken. Have you noticed? When we cling to possessions, relationships, or identities, life feels fragile. But when we release possessiveness, even while fully engaged, life feels free. Stillness is not inaction, it is action without agitation. The sage walks, speaks, loves, works, even fights, but with no craving, no fear, no delusion. Focus. Here lies the piercing focus. Victory in life is not about defeating others, but about becoming unshakable within. What is your battlefield? Is it your workplace, where honor and dishonor toss you like waves? Is it your relationships, where expectation and disappointment cloud your peace? Is it your mind, flooded by desires and anxieties? Krishna whispers, become the ocean. The Stithaprajña lives awake while the world sleeps in distraction. He rests when the world is most awake in its illusions. He is the quiet presence in a noisy crowd, the still heart in a restless storm. And when death arrives, whether at Bhishma's bed of arrows or in the middle of our ordinary days, the sage remains undisturbed, stepping through the final door as calmly as through morning sunlight. So let me ask you, what would it take for you to reach that state? What one craving or fear could you start loosening your grip on today? Share it in the comments. Your honesty might awaken someone else too. And remember, this chapter, Sankhya Yoga, began with despair and ends with stillness. It teaches us that peace is not the prize at the end of a perfect life. Peace is the ground you stand on while living amidst imperfection. If this message resonated, please like, share, and subscribe. It will help this wisdom reach more seekers and help us continue bringing these timeless teachings alive for you. Because the Gita's gift is not just for Arjuna, it's for you, for me, for every restless heart seeking its ocean.